Kansas City Royals trade deadline outlook. This is Ryan Finkelstein, managing editor at Just Baseball. I got another one of our editors here, Jack McCullen. The Royals, the big talking point that we could have gotten to with this team already happened. They traded Andrew Benintendi to the Yankees. How about this? You want to break down that trade for me a little bit? What'd you think about the return they got from the Yankees in that deal?
I thought it was light, Fink. I think it might be a buyer's market here. You got Beck Way, who is a fringe top 20 prospect for the Yankees. You got TJ Sakema, who is a fringe top 20 prospect for the Yankees. And you got Chandler Champlain, who is outside the top 30 prospects for the Yankees, according to MLB Pipeline. So I thought that the Royals needed pitching. When Brian Cashman called about Benintendi, they said, listen, we need starters. And he said, I've got 3 starters for you right here. And they said, okay. And then they hung up and had the deal done. They had the papers faxed over to them. So I thought it was light. I think that it might be a buyer's deadline because this felt like the tone-setting deal. It's an all-star corner outfielder. That's the all-star for Kansas City, and he just got moved for 3 guys that might not break into Major League Baseball, which is really interesting to me.
I don't understand why they pulled the trigger when they did. That's what confused me more than the package, because wouldn't this package have been there at the deadline? And isn't there a chance that there's a team that's really hot on Ian Happ and they miss out, that maybe turns and pivots to Benny and ends up, overpaying a little bit more than they're offering right now? It's just surprising when a deal like this gets done, 5 days before the deadline. You look like the Vogelback trade.
Yeah.
That makes sense because to get Colin Holderman, I think everyone's saying that's a pretty damn good return for a guy that you essentially just grabbed on a minor league deal at one point.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity you would have thought to really maximize your one all-star, because beyond that, we're going to talk about 2 players that can get them something, but the return can't be as good as what they just got, and we don't really love what they just got.
No, Benny's the crown jewel there. And listen, the Royals are positioned for success offensively, but we know that baseball is divided into 2 aspects, hitters and pitchers. They've got none of the latter. And Asa Lacy was a top 5 pick. Asa Lacy can't throw strikes, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Brady Singer looked really good in New York the other night, but that's a one-off for Brady Singer. We haven't seen it consistently. And then you've got guys like Kowar and Lynch and Bubic who have not assumed the roles that we were assuming that they were going to take on. So the pitching has been super underwhelming. I'm sure they're going to ask for more pitching by getting Michael A. Taylor off and by Whit Merrifield off. And that's who we're going to talk about here in a moment. But again, I thought they kind of fumbled the bag with Andrew Benintendi. And I'm with you, man. Like, if you missed out on Ian Happ, you would think, oh, well, he's an all-star. We got to offer a similar haul to Happ. You don't want to be the first big trade that goes down because you're the tone setter for the rest of them. And now other teams can look at what the Yankees gave to Kansas City and say, well, Benintendi only cost that much. I don't think it's going to factor in like that, but I think this kind of stunk as a tone setter.
Yeah, and it's funny, you kind of hurt your own value on the Michael Taylor trade.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to pay more for Michael Taylor? Now, I will say, I almost, instead of talking what they're going to get in return, because I don't think there really is an interesting conversation there, I do hope they sell these 2 pieces, because I think Michael Taylor can help a lot of teams. I look at the Phillies as an option. There's countless others who could use a center fielder who could play some defense and be slightly above average hitter. And then Whit Merrifield, we've been talking about him a lot on these outlooks. He's a guy I think a change of scenery could turn him back into the player he was. And that's a player that can really, really help a contender.
Yeah, but again, you just said it, Fink. Like you're hoping that Whit Merrifield turns into the player that he once was. Yeah. They had an opportunity to trade him when he was at his peak value, and they didn't do it. So now a team is going to move for a guy that pretty much they're buying low. They're buying low on Whit Merrifield, and they're buying pretty low on Michael A. Taylor too. I think that the Royals had a great opportunity to not contend, but be a 500 team this year. They didn't do it. And now they're just kind of dragging their way through this deadline. I think this is going to be disappointing for Royals fans.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams where, as much as we want to talk about outlooks and the exciting things that can be done, there's teams where there's just nothing exciting to talk about. Unfortunately, the Royals are one of those teams. So that is our outlook on the Kansas City Royals. Their deadline's over. They traded Benny. Not much left to do. Check out all 30 of our trade deadline outlooks on our State of the Division YouTube, also the podcast feed, State of the Division, and all 30 write-ups at justbaseball.com.